Shalom, shalom, everybody. Welcome back to another Pulse of Israel episode. Here in our eternal and ancestral homeland, the land of Israel, in our eternal, beautiful, and indivisible capital, Jerusalem, since King David's time. One of the last videos I made was about the circus, the immoral circus taking place at The Hague, the International Court of Justice, where basically the international community is putting Israel, the Jewish people, the Jewish state of Israel, on trial for genocide. After 100+ years of our Arab Muslim enemies trying to kill us, after continued wars launched against us, after continued terror attacks that have massacred innocent Jews year after year, month after month, and after the horrendous tragedy on Simchat Torah, October 7th, massacring, mutilating, beheading, burning babies, children, mothers, grandmothers, men, boys. After all that, they continue to ignore the calls to genocide and the acts of genocide by our enemies. And they're putting the Jewish state of Israel on trial. So I focused on the immoral insanity of the situation. Today, I want to focus on the positive, because you know me, at the Pulse of Israel, you get the inspiring, politically incorrect truth. So today you're going to get the silver lining of it all. And I'm going to preface the silver lining by connecting to the Torah portions that Jewish people are reading throughout the world as we have begun reading the book of Shemot, of Exodus. And the biggest question that arises, why did God bring 10 plagues upon the Egyptian people? It's God. If he wanted to free the Jewish people, he could have freed them with 9 plagues, 8 plagues, 1 plague, no plagues. It's God. If he wanted to free the Jewish people, he didn't need 10 plagues. So, first of all, there's 2 aspects to the answer. 1, why did he bring the plagues? Well, 1, in order for Pharaoh to realize that there is a God that rules the world. So it's a whole process that Pharaoh had to go through in order to change the way of the world, so that finally he and Egyptian society can realize, oh my God, there is a God. Because at the time, Pharaoh was considered a god. Suns were considered gods. Moons were considered gods. Rocks, trees, everything were considered gods. And the process of the 10 plagues brought Pharaoh and the Egyptian people to recognize that there is one God, the God of the Jewish people, right? So that's the beginning of the creation of understanding in humanity of monotheism, one God, which is basically why God chose the Jewish people to represent him in the world, to spread monotheism, not to make everyone Jewish, but by us following God's commandments, by following the Torah, we are representing God in the world and spreading the belief in one God. Okay? So that's reason number 1. Reason number 2, not just the process that Pharaoh and the Egyptian people had to experience to recognize one God, but a process that the Jewish people had to experience to recognize one God and want to be freed and want to leave Egypt. Because we learn from the Torah, from the rabbis, only 1/5 of the Jewish people left slavery in Egypt. 1 out of every 5 Jews left. That means 4 out of every 5 Jews stayed in Egypt even after the horrible slavery that they experienced under Egypt and the 10 miraculous plagues that God did for the Jewish people, proving beyond any benefit of the doubt that he is the ultimate power that runs the world. And still, even after that process of 10 plagues, only 20% of the Jewish people, only 1 out of every 5 Jews left Egypt. But again, we understand that God had those 10 plagues as a process. If he would have just taken the Jews out, they wouldn't have been ready for him. 1 plague, 2, they weren't ready. It was each plague was a building block in so many different ways that assisted the buildup of the Jewish people to be ready to want to be free underneath the leadership of the one true God above. So the key word is process. And it's a wake-up process. So now I'm referring to the wake-up process in the story of the Exodus, the biblical story which we're reading in the Torah around the world. Now we come to The Hague. What's going on? It's horrible. It's so immoral. How can the world be putting Israel on trial, the Jewish people on trial? It makes no sense. They're lying. Everything they say today about the Jewish people is a lie. For years, they said we were occupiers, right? For years, the leaders of the Jewish people in Israel and leaders of the Jewish people abroad, they were so afraid, they were so embarrassed that proud Jews in Israel were living in Judea and Samaria. They couldn't defend it. They're like, no, we shouldn't be there. We support the two-state solution. No, we shouldn't be in Judea and Samaria. We are willing to give it up to make peace. Yes, we know they try to kill us, but if we leave Judea and Samaria, if we hand them over half of Jerusalem, if we pull out of Gaza, if we do this, if we placate them this, if we appease them this, if the world sees that we're taking their concerns into consideration, we'll have peace. The world will clap. The world will let us defend ourselves. And then, as we say in Hebrew, Shalom al Yisrael, everything will be peaceful for the Jewish people. And what are we seeing? We're seeing a process over decades that little by little, Jews, non-Jews as well, but the important process for Jews, because we have to own our own reality. We have to own our own identity. We have to own our own destiny and not outsource it to the leaders of the world who we delude ourselves into thinking that they have our best interests at heart. And with each year, more Jews are waking up. We're getting killed. Terror attacks. They're not letting us defend ourselves. They're stopping us from defending ourselves. The United States is threatening to withhold a veto at the United Nations. The Obama administration withheld rockets from us being able to defend ourselves in a war and then stopped us from being able to produce our own munitions. Little by little, Jews are waking up. Wait a second. Even when we listened to the world, we gave up the Gaza Strip, 2005. We made peace with an enemy in 1993. The Oslo Accords with the Palestinian Liberation Organization, the PLO, whitewashing it into a legal political entity on the world stage, allowing it to have a voice at the United Nations, allowing it to have a voice in international forums where they bash Israel and delegitimize Israel. We've listened to the world for 30 years. And now Jews are waking up and realizing, oh my God, we were massacred. And not only are they not letting us win this war properly, and especially Jews in Israel, but now the international community, the international court is putting the Jewish people on trial for genocide. It's one lie after another lie. Look at it like an onion. It's one peel of the onion of a lie, another peel of an onion of a lie, another peel of an onion. And the Jewish people, especially the Jewish people of Israel, are waking up and realizing, oh my God, they don't care about the truth. I've been talking about this for 30 years, but my fellow Jews, a majority of them have been asleep at the wheel, thinking if we just appease the world, if we just appease their concerns, we'll leave Judea and Samaria. Okay, Hebron is Jewish, but it's okay. Let's give it back. Not give it back. I'm sorry. That's what they tell us to do. Give back. It's not giving it back. It's giving it away. It belongs to us. It's belonged to us for 3,000 plus years since the Bible. It's never belonged to any fake people called Palestinians. But the world says that we have to give it away in order for us to have peace and for them to defend us in the United Nations and to allow us to defend our borders. So let's get rid of it. Let's get rid of Gaza. Let's get rid of Judea and Samaria. And all of a sudden, Jews are waking up. Oh my God. It's insane. They're putting us on trial for genocide at the international court. Meaning no matter how much we appease the world, no matter how much we push down our own needs to defend ourselves, to placate the concerns of world leaders and international organizations and human rights organizations, they don't care about us. The International Red Cross will bring aid to Gazans, but 100 days in, they're not doing anything to visit our captives in Gaza, to give them their medications, to look after them, to make sure they're not being abused. The International Red Cross, the international community is not doing anything to pressure Qatar, which is supposedly a partner with the United States, to release our captives. They're not letting us win this war properly. They're not letting Gazans who want to leave Gaza leave Gaza. They let refugees from the war in Ukraine leave, refugees from the war in Syria leave, and be taken in all around the world. But no, Gazans must remain there. They have no homes, they have no communities, it'll take years to rebuild. No, they must remain there. And no one talks about the fact that it's Egypt that's stopping them from leaving. Hundreds of thousands have left over the past few years because life is horrible if you're not connected to Hamas in Gaza. So all they have to do is let Egypt open the border, and then hundreds of thousands of Gazans will leave. Let them go to Jordan, let them go to Qatar, let them go to Egypt, let them go to Europe. All right? European countries love taking in Muslim immigrants. But all of a sudden, Gazans, no. Let them go to Turkey. But no. All they have to do is pressure Egypt to open the border. But no. And now saying we're committing genocide? When we're the only country in the world that sends leaflets and calls the people to tell them we're about to bomb the building, leave the building. So if they remain in the building, they're going against international law and allowing Israel to bomb because they know they're staying there in order to protect terrorists. So it's one lie after another. It's one immoral thing after another immoral thing. When Israel is the most moral actor on the world stage, more and more Jews are waking up. It's a wake-up process, just like the Exodus story. That's the silver lining, folks. Because at the end of the day, we're going to save ourselves and be safe because we are going to do what is necessary for us to do to protect ourselves. And part of that is no longer listening to the immoral concerns and demands of the international community. Because believe it or not, the freedom-loving world, they're looking to us for inspiration. Europe is being overrun and destroyed from within because of the massive Muslim immigration into Western European countries. Destroyed from the inside. London is no longer the same London as 15, 20 years ago. Paris is no longer the same Paris. And it's not just those two cities and two countries. Those freedom-loving people are looking for us to be inspired. To us, the Jewish people in the land of Israel, to stand up against the intolerant terror aspect within the Islamic jihadi world that is out already destroying the freedom-loving world around the world. Parisians are looking out for us. British are looking out for us. Freedom-loving Canadians, Americans, Australians, they might not be thinking it, but subconsciously, they're looking to be inspired by us. Forget about the politicians. They're part of the problem. They're all corrupted with whatever interests and whatever corruptions. They're not looking out for the interests of their constituents, not in America, not in Canada, not in Britain, not in France. No matter how much they tell you they are, and they might really, really have that intention, the second they get into power, there's so many interests and political machinations and global pressures that push them to do things against the interests of their populations. Hence, Islam, through the womb, and its internal cultural jihad, is destroying Western Europe. And those freedom-loving people in Western Europe, and Canada, and Australia, and Israel, and America, they're looking to us, the Jewish people in Israel, to stand up for true morality and stand up against the evil that is out to get all of us. So this is the wake-up process the Jewish people are experiencing, that no longer can we placate and appease the world's immoral demands. So yeah, prosecute us at The Hague. Don't have the International Red Cross help us. Stop us from trying to defend ourselves. You're just helping wake up another Jew and another Israeli to push us to finally do what is necessary to save the whole freedom-loving world and inspire all freedom-loving people all over the world. Because no matter how much pressure the Biden administration with Blinken, or how many trips they send him here to pressure Netanyahu to do things that are against the interests of the Israeli people, that endanger our lives and do not end this war, because the only way this war ends is if the people down south and the people up north feel comfortable moving back to their homes with no fear whatsoever of any terror happening ever again to them. And that's only going to happen if we get rid of the whole terror network, which includes much of the civilian population in Gaza, meaning allowing them to leave and live elsewhere. And we take care of Hezbollah in the north, so that they're nowhere to be found with no rockets. That's the only way to end this war. And at that point, it's going to be a blessing for the whole freedom-loving world, because everyone all over the world will see, wow, that's how you stand up and you protect your people. You don't give in to the intolerant, terrorizing Muslim world, and you don't give in to the appeasement of the Western political leaders and NGOs who have exposed themselves to not care about human rights, to not care about all women. We're the feminine organizations screaming out against the massive rapes that happened to the Israeli Jewish women on October 7th. Nowhere to be found. Silent. And keep on being silent. With each day of silence of all the NGOs, of all the international organizations, of prosecuting Israel, another Jew's waking up. Another Israeli's waking up. We are coming to ourselves, uniting as a people. I wish it was every single Jew. It's not everyone, but it's more than was yesterday, and it's going to be more tomorrow. Because the international community and world leaders and nonprofit organization leaders are all exposing themselves as frauds. They don't really care about the values they talk about. Social justice. No. When it comes to the Jews and the Jewish state of Israel, it exposes their fraud. So it's up to us to regain our self-confidence in our Jewish identity, who we are as a people, why we are here in our ancestral homeland, that true peace will only be achieved when Israel maximizes its identity in our ancestral homeland. That's why we were chosen. We're a Jewish people chosen to follow the Torah in this holy land of Israel, and that's how we bring peace to the world. And hence, that's why we must be in Judea and Samaria. We must be in Gaza. We must have sovereignty over the Temple Mount and allow freedom of worship for all. And then anyone who wants to live within our borders peacefully, understanding how blessed they are to live peacefully within our borders, they will be able to live peacefully. Anyone who wants to kill us and destroy the Jewish state of Israel, well, they won't be living here. Hence, true peace is the Jewish people maximizing our potential of our ancestral national identity, which is connected to our homeland. So keep on exposing your hypocrisy and fraud, world. Keep on trying to persecute us and prosecute us and put us down and stop us from allowing to defend ourselves. With each day, more Jews and more Israeli Jews are waking up. Am Yisrael Chai. The key word, process. Remember that, folks. It's a wake-up process, and I've been talking about this wake-up process for years, not just now, and it's a wake-up process for the whole freedom-loving world. Thank you once again for joining me for another Pulse of Israel episode. If you are not yet a subscriber and you want to hear these messages on a daily basis, a belief-based understanding of our reality, of current events, go to pulseofisrael.com and click to subscribe. And if you support these messages, and you are able to support our work so that we can have more people hear these messages and see these videos, just click on the donate button on pulseofisrael.com every once in a while, so we have the financial support to be able to produce and promote these videos to be seen by many more people. Good times are coming. These are redemptive times. Am Yisrael Chai. Shalom, everyone, and thanks for watching.
Pulse of Israel, frontline videos from the Holy Land. Support our work by donating today.